Okay, now we got the formulas down, we can start doing some problems. Alright, so the first thing is draw the following: a square pyramid. That's easy enough. You draw what looks like a parallelogram, but it's got dimension to it. There's our square pyramid. Draw a triangular prism. These just need to be the same length. There's a triangular prism. Draw a square cone. Not possible. Now let's go and look at some of the aspects of this. This, going from the top to the middle, is the height. That's the height. Let's see if my pen works. This, going from the top down the side, is called the slant height. So that's a big difference. And what kind of triangle is this? That's a right triangle with a slant height and a height. Alright, so we have a nice right triangle. Yay. In this prism, this is the base, and this is the base. And this is a huge thing. What's the height of this prism? It's this right here. This is the height. The height is always measured from base to base. Maybe you like it better if it was like this. Maybe now okay, I see the height. The height is that. The height is always measured from base to base. Always. It'd be a simple question if you can just pick out the height. That base to that base, that's called the height. Alright. What exactly is surface area? It's the number of little squares that cover the outside of a figure, of a solid. We'll call them solids because of three-dimensional shapes. The number of little squares that cover the outside of a solid. So if I could put a bunch of little squares on here, how many squares does it take to cover that? Think about painting something. How much paint would you need to paint the outside of a surface? What is the difference between lateral area and surface area? Lateral area does not include the bases. If I wanted to find the surface area of this, I've got 5 things. I do triangle plus rectangle plus rectangle. That's surface area. If I want lateral area, it's just these surfaces. No, my drawing's a little weird. But just the surfaces does not include the bases. The lateral area does not include the bases. So if I have surface area and when I want to get the lateral area, I just subtract the base areas. What is the difference between slant height and altitude? Right here. The height goes from the top straight down to the bottom. The slant height goes from the top down the side. And it's slanted, I guess. Alright. Next questions are find surface area and lateral area of each of the following. Alright, so first I'm going to start by writing down the correct formula. So this is a pyramid. You can see the top right there. Pyramid surface area is base plus 1/2 LP. I'm going to write that down. Base plus 1/2 LP. Now I'm going to just start filling in. Alright, do we know the area of the base? That's what the big V means. Let's find the area of that base triangle. Let's come back to that. We don't know that. Do we know the slant height? That would be this, going down the side right there. That's 10.5. So we can plug in 10.5. Do we know the perimeter of the base? The perimeter of the base is 11 plus 11 plus 11. So the perimeter of the base is 33. The only thing we got to figure out is what's the area of the base. So I'm going to just, in my calculator real quick here, find the area of the base. Now the area of a triangle is 1/2 times the little b times the height. 1/2 base times height. In this triangle, the base is 11, the height is 9.5, so 1/2 base times height, that would be 1/2 11 times 9.5 for us. So that is 52.25. More room there. 52.25. There we have it. Now we plug that all into our calculator. 52.25 plus 0.5 times 10.5 times 33. 222.5. 225.5. Now this is area, so we're going to do inches squared. On 2b. Oh yeah, and the lateral area? The lateral area just does not include the 52.25. So this is the surface area, and the lateral area is 225 minus the 52.25 minus the base, 173.25 inches squared. Alright, so surface area and lateral. We'll do the rest with just surface area. Alright, the next one. Big question here is, what's the height of this? Well, first of all, what shape is it? Here's a triangle. Here's a triangle. Those are your bases. It's a triangular prism. Alright, so now we go to our formula sheet. Triangular prism, 2b plus hp. Alright, so 2 big B plus hp. And we'll plug in as we go. Alright, let's see here. Do we know the area of the base? No. Do we know the height? The height is measured from base to base, so from triangle to triangle is 4. Let's take out one of these triangles and look at it. That's this base triangle. It's got a side length of 3, side length of 4, and a side length of 5. So therefore, the perimeter is just 3 plus 4 plus 5, which is 12. There's my perimeter. Last thing I got to do is fill in for the area of this triangle. What is the area of the triangle? Area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height, which in our case would be 1/2 times 4 times 3, which is 12 times 1/2, which is 6. So there we have it. We've got the area of the triangle, the height of the prism, and the perimeter of the triangle. Just plug that into your calculator, or you know what, we could probably do this by hand. 60 square miles. Alright, the next one. You know what, I just want to ask you, what's the height of this prism? First of all, what type of prism is it? Here's a trapezoid. And here's a trapezoid. To find the surface area, you would use the same equation as the last problem because it's a prism. It's got 2 bases. And what's the height? The height is not 3.5. The height is not 4. The height is 10 because it's how far is this base to this base. Height is 10. Alright, I think you can do the rest. It's just find the area of the trapezoid, find the perimeter of the trapezoid. You're good to go. On D, we want to find the surface area of this pyramid. Alright, well, let's get our formula for surface area of a pyramid, base plus 1/2 LP. Okay, plug it in as we go. Fill in the easy stuff first. Do we know what the area of the base is? Sure, it's a 12 by 12 square, so the area of the base is 144. Do we know what the slant height is? If I were to go down the side, do we know that length? No. Do we know what the perimeter is? Sure, that's 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12. The perimeter of the base is 48. The last thing we got to do is just figure out what that slant height is. So what we can do is we can take that triangle out. That's that triangle right there. We know that this is 8. We know that this is 6. Well, this is 12, so this length is 6. It's half of 12. And that's a 3, 4, 5. That's a 3 times 2, 4 times 2, 5 times 2, which is 10. So therefore our slant height is 10. Alright, so now we just plug that into our calculator and figure out what the answer is from there. 144. Oh, by the way, let me do 0.5 times 10 times 48. That is the lateral area. And when I add the base, I get the surface area. So 384 square meters. This one gets to be a little tricky. We want the surface area of this thing, and if you look, there's a cone that got scooped out of it. So that affects the surface area. We need to take away the circle on top, because that's not part of the surface area. We wouldn't paint this circle. And so let's dissect this. We've got ourselves a cube. As far as surface area goes, we need to take out the top and we need to add the cone. Alright, so that's the surface area. We got to start with this. We got to take out the top circle here and we got to put in a cone. Now the surface area of this, because it's a cube, is pretty easy. One surface is 36. So I'm actually not going to use the formula for this. I'm just going to do 36 times 6 because there's 6 surfaces. So 36 for each side. Then I need to take away this circle here. And then I need to add the lateral area of the cone. I don't want to add the top of the cone. I want to add just the curved part, which is called the lateral area of the cone. So pi RL for that. And all I gotta do now is just plug in my stuff. Alright, so 36 times 6, 216. So if we didn't do any of the cone stuff, this would just be surface area of 216. But because we put the cone in, we have to subtract pi times 2 squared because the radius of this is 2. And then the last thing we got to figure out is what is the slant height of that cone. Okay, interesting. Well, if I take out this triangle and look at it, that's 6 and that's 2, and that's a right triangle. So let's do the Pythagorean theorem real quick. 2 squared plus 6 squared, and then do the square root of 40. About 6.3. So this is about 6.3. Excuse me. and then you plug all that in your calculator, you get your answer. Alright, I'm running out of time, so let me move forward. This shape is a prism, and this is the base. This is an odd-shaped prism, but you can think of this as the base. So, as far as surface area goes, we can use 2b plus HP. Now let's plug in. Do we know the area of this thing? No. Let's move on. Do we know the height of the prism? That would be the 6. This is the height of the prism. It's base to base. Do we know the perimeter of the prism? Sure, we can figure that out. That's pretty straightforward. It's just adding up some stuff. Starting with the 5. We got 5 plus 3 plus 2.5 plus 2 plus 2.5 plus 3. Oops. Got too fast. There we go. 18. So the perimeter is 18. Last thing we gotta do is to take this base apart and find the area of it. So this is a trapezoid and a rectangle. The rectangle is easy. It's a 3 by 5. So that has an area of 15. The trapezoid, remember you do the average of the bases. So 2 plus 5 divided by 2, that's the average of the bases, times the height, which is 2. So this has an area of 7. Going kind of quickly, but that's the area of a trapezoid, area of a rectangle. When you add those together, you get 22. So there it is. The area of this base is a rectangle plus a trapezoid, which is 15 plus 7, which is 22. Now we just add all that together. (152 centimeters squared). Alright, we've got just a couple more examples to do. And then your homework is here. We're on G. Cylinder has a surface area of 256 pi and a diameter of 8 millimeters. Find the height. Woo! Alright, let's draw a cylinder. There's our cylinder. It tells us that the surface area is 256 pi, the diameter is 8, which means the radius is 4, and we got to figure out what the height is. So we're going to use the formula for surface area, which is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r L. That's the surface area of a cylinder. And now we can plug in 256 pi for the surface area. The radius is 4, and the radius is 4. This is supposed to be h, no mistake. And the height is h. Now, the pi's can cancel each one of those, so we can make this look a little prettier. 256, 16 times 2 is 32, and that's 8 times h, 8h like that. Now we just subtract and divide. So 256 minus 32 divided by 8 is 28. Apparently h is 28 millimeters. Okay, part H. The height of a prism is 3 less than its base perimeter. Find the height if the lateral area is 70. Interesting.